Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy.
In the early days, I didn't sell a lot of fowl, not because I didn't want to sell anything. I didn't have the connections. I didn't even have the Gamecock magazine back then. Okay. So it wasn't like I had the connections to even sell birds in the first place. So it wasn't even something that I thought about doing. And then early on, when I met Tony Seville, he's the one that actually introduced me to the Gamecock magazine. I didn't even know it existed until then. Okay. I was in this for a long time. I had friends that were doing this for a long time. We never talked about the magazines whatsoever, but Tony's the one that introduced me to the Gamecock magazine. And then once I started learning from him and I started teaching what he was teaching me, I started writing for the magazine pretty early on. So when you put yourself out there, I don't know how other people feel, but this is how I feel. And there's some people actually having YouTube channels like that, and you think they'd feel like I do, that if my name's out there and I'm putting myself out there and I'm acting like the authority, selling a defect would be a bad thing because your reputation is going to follow you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so if I learned very quickly, if I was going to do this, then I had to be a harder caller than anybody else. That any bird that showed even the signs of a defect, that thing had to be culled, because if it ever made its way off my farm, I was going to look bad. You know, oh, he's supposed to be this great selector, this great breeder. He's supposed to know everything about breeding. He writes these articles, but look what he sent me. That was not going to happen. And so you would think some of these people that have shows of their own or putting themselves out there as authorities would have a stricter criteria, you know, have a higher standard, you know. But all I've heard from people that bought birds from them is that they're kind of junk. You know what I mean? So that put me on notice, not on notice, but it made me rise to a higher standard right off the bat just because of what I did automatically. Even though I had the connections, I wasn't big into selling, but if I was going to sell birds or give birds away, I was going to make damn sure they got a good one. Because, yeah.
Well, you know, the thing about it is you're not going to see a NASCAR team that's not even qualifying for a race keep sponsors very long, you know, in the same way with us. How long are you going to last, Kenny, if we're putting just hideous type birds on there, post them saying, oh, look at what I've got. It's a beautiful bird, you know, and he's squirrel tailed. His bill's about, 4 inches long and his legs is about that long. His conformation's out. We're not going to last too long at all.
Can I tell him about the picture you showed me the other day?
Yeah.
It was yesterday. Okay. So Frank sends me a picture of this cock and hen, and the cock had serious squirrel tail and rye tail at the same time. And he had all these people pushing like and saying how much they liked it and stuff like that. And I'm like, what, are they really missing that bird had that bad of a defect, or the yard blind, or what are they looking at? I don't really understand how they could miss something like that, but they thought that was a good bird. So not only the breeder put it on there, because obviously he thought it was a good bird, he would have put it on there. And then you got people pushing like and telling how much they like it because they liked it. So we've got a huge disconnect between what the birds should look like and what they look like today. I think we got to.
You're right. You're right, Kenny. But here's the main thing. I read through the comments and what was being said. This guy had bought broodfowl off a well-known breeder that's really popular right now. And that's what all the hubbub was. It wasn't that they was not one time did anybody mention, hey, that bird's squirrel-tailed and he's right-tailed. I mean, and we're not talking about a little bit. No, we're talking about the tail laying over and in the back of his head.
Yeah, it was like cocked over like that, you know. Yeah,
yeah, and just because of the name that it come from the breeder, you know, everybody loved it. They loved the name. They didn't love the bird. They loved the name. Pretty much.
That's what I mean. So did that breeder not know that that's a defect? Okay. Or did he not care about his reputation? Or did he think the buyers were that dumb not to notice?
Yeah.
There's some serious things going on there, you know?
And it was in both sides of the family when the breeder sold him the fowl that he's got.
Oh, shoot. Really?
Yeah, because he showed some of the others that he had that was brothers to, and every one of them was the same way. They was completely 100% all the same way. So
was he complaining, or did he thought it was okay? The
he
buyer.
thought, he was bragging on them.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I didn't show you the other comments, but in the other comments, he was showing brothers to that bird, and they was all consistent, and they produced herself well, but in the worst kind of way. You know, they was reproducing themselves, but in the worst kind of way.
I was sitting in jury duty, waiting to be interviewed or whatever, which I never was. I got out of there, but I was wasting time, and I was looking on my phone, and someone put some pictures on there and wanted to know what everybody thought of these birds. Uh-oh. And I usually don't do this. I usually stay out of it. I usually don't say nothing. I say
I remember
all
this.
my shows, or I'll say, if someone asks me directly, I'll answer them, but I usually don't go on there and, give them my opinion about anything. Okay. And so this guy asked, I go, well, he asked. Okay. So I go on there, I go, well,
Still,
I would cull all of them. They have serious squirrel tail. They've got
The wind was blowing, Kenny.
Yeah,
the wind was blowing.
We're blowing. Trust me. Okay, and yeah, and every picture I had was like that. And I said, "Well, he asked," so I got attacked pretty good. And I was like, okay, I tried to help him. He didn't want the help. All his friends backed him up. They don't know better. Whatever. I tried to help, and out I go. So I'll just stick with my members of the Breeders' Academy. They want my help. I enjoy helping them. We're improving the breed. Those guys can be left behind as far as I'm concerned. If they want my help, they know how to get a hold of me. I was like, wow. But
they were severe. The rat tail and the squirrel tail. But what got me?
Oh, it did have squirrel tail and right tail. I forgot.
Yeah. And what got me, he said, no, that's not. Every picture that was taken, there was several. And every one of them, you could tell it was severely squirrel and rat tailed. But what got me was he told Kenny, said, no, he's not squirrel tail. The wind was just blowing real hard, and I lost it. I seriously, that's what got me right there. Was the wind
Derek
blowing?
Says it just right here. He goes, I just can't comment on birds because I can't spend my whole day defending my comments, and that's exactly right. Ask Nancy. A couple times at Disneyland, of all places, I made the mistake of making a comment like that or putting something on someone else's Facebook page, a group's page, and I had to spend the whole freaking day defending it, like he said, And
I get so mad at him. I keep telling him, "Don't do it, don't do it."
Yeah. So I finally just got tired of it. I go, okay, delete.
It's I know what you're saying, Kenny, because there's times that I've got my phone in my hand and I see something, and especially somebody's commenting about it, okay? A large group of people's commenting, and I'm like, and my brain is saying, don't do it. And I want to do it so bad, but I know when I do what it's going to do. So finally, I just throw the phone out of my hand and walk away from it. But it's so hard not to do. But
it makes me mad.
Best not to do.
It makes me mad at myself that I even did that, because I would have expected that. Some people just can't. Frank tells me all the time, even if they ask, don't tell them, because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear that everything's okay and they're beautiful. And I'm the worst critic of all. So if I see a problem, which I usually see pretty quickly, it comes up. And even my members say that they can't go on other people's farms or go anywhere after being on the Breeders' Academy because they see all these faults. It's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's just like flies out at you,
What I've learned over the time, though, Kenny, if they ask me, like in a comment or something, and they ask me about it, I will never answer it for people to see. Now, I'll send them a private message and discuss it that way, but because they don't want to see what I'm going to write.
Maybe I should have done that.
I do a private message. Yeah, I never do anything openly.
I just figured he asked.
Yeah,
and
you told him,
duty. I was already upset, So
Kenny didn't sugarcoat it.
No, I never do.
Well, yeah, you guys aren't the only ones, because Lori here is saying that she breeds dogs and horses too. And she's learned a long time ago to shut up, but it's really hard sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's right.
Lori's right. You look at the birds and you see all these, you see hundreds of people I can think of one guy. I don't want to say his name. He's a very popular person, and he uses other people's birds to put his tips out and everything. And almost every one of the birds he uses is awful. Okay. And then he gets 300, 400, 500 people saying that they didn't even read his message. Okay. They
I'm leaving.
message.
We just, we just haven't reached out far enough.
Wait a minute. They see the bird and they just think it's the greatest bird ever. And I want so badly to get in there. Well, what about its right tail? What about its squirrel tail? What about its this and that? Well, he's so stork-legged, but they totally miss it. I crossed the line there, Frank.
Yeah. No, eventually we'll get to everybody. It's going to take some time. This is not a race. It's a marathon.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, we'll get there and get a hold of everybody's neck and shake them.
Turn them upside down and shake them. Change
me and Kenny's always saying, we have good days and bad days, and we'll say, everything's changing. Everybody is seeing the picture. They're starting to talk the talk.
Yeah.
They're starting to post better birds, and then all of a sudden you got those days. It's like, where did it all go? Well, what happened? It's back. It stepped back, and then it gets good again. So yeah, it comes and goes, but it has get better. I have to admit, Kenny, it has it's got much better.
Yeah, I'm seeing a trend. It is going in the right direction for the most part, I think. And we teach 10 people. Those 10 people teach 100 people, and it'll just keep expanding. Steve says it just right. Public humiliation can be healthy. It's humiliating, but I mean, actually, it's frustrating more than anything because I'm just trying to help them,
But if they would say it that way, but I'm gonna tell you something, and I might not or not say this, but I'm gonna say it, and I know Kenny's gonna agree with me, and you guys will too. But people like you've got these podcasts where they agree with everybody. They spread stuff that's not true.
Yeah.
And they'll look at a bird that is nowhere close to even being right conformationally, eat up with defects. And they'll say, oh, that's the best looking bird I've ever seen in my life. You're a great breeder, patting them on the back, knowing it's a lie, but they do it to get popularity. They want people to like them. Kenny, somebody asked Kenny that. Kenny tells them the truth. Well, he's a butthole, he told me my bird sucked, but you asked him, now if Kenny had lied and said, oh, your birds are great, you're an excellent breeder, man, you're just a bomb, he would have been a Kenny's fan still. Okay. But when Kenny tells the truth, they don't.
You know what I love about the members, and this helps a lot, actually. So any of my members listening, it does help me, is when they say, tell me what you think of my birds, don't sugarcoat it.
Well, that goes along with what George is saying down here. He says, not sure about anybody else, but during my first coaching call with Kenny or Frank, were you hesitant to send him pictures of your birds? I dreaded it. Luckily, Kenny didn't roast the pictures.
Don't feel that way. I'm on your side. Okay. Now here's how I look at it. Okay. I mean, you guys all see the birds I started with. They were awful. Okay. We all start there. So when I look at birds, yes, I do look at the faults. I see how bad the faults are. I examine or I determine if we go in the right direction, can you create a strain from them? Okay. So then I go from looking at the faults to looking at the possibilities. And then I see the hen and cock are breeding. Then I decide, okay, if we do it this way, we breed this cock to this hen, this is where we go. Once we get the offspring, this is where we're going to go after that. Once we see that, get back to me. I understand where you're at. I understand where everybody's at when they're sending me
in the beginning.
They want, yeah. So I totally get it. And I'm just trying to help you. I'm not going to say, oh, they're pieces of crap, get rid of them. I'm a firm believer that, especially with American games too, I'm still learning a lot about the domestic side, but when it comes to American games, I've been breeding those long enough to know that you can create a strain from any cock and hen. Now, what I will say about the domestic chickens real quick is that I still believe that, but if you're just taking any cock and hen, a domestic breed, will they be that breed and variety when you're done? That's the question. If not, I still believe you can create a strain, but they're going to be different than what they were. Now, American games, they have so much blood in them, so many different bloodlines put into them. That's why we call them sometimes hybrids, but most of the time we're calling them mongrels. But I do believe the strain can be created from any cock and hen, that eventually we can get there. The genes are there. We just need to look at the variations as they're expressed and determine whether we want to cull them or we want to breed to them. And then eventually we can get there. I understand the breed that well that we can do something. So don't ever be afraid to, share your birds with me at all. I'm there to help you completely. And if I think there's no, that we can't get there, then I'll let you know. I don't want you wasting your time or money, for sure.
Well, the thing about it is it's to help you. You have to look at it this way. If we're giving you any type of negativity about the birds, we're not going to say, oh, that bird's a junk, get rid of it. What we'll do, we'll explain what we see wrong, why it's wrong, give you an ideal of it, try to make you see, what it is that the bird's lacking. Yeah. And, a lot of times, Kenny, I don't know about you, there's been a really bunch of nice birds.
Lately I've been seeing a lot of good
I've
birds.
been like, wow, man, you've got a great start, but I've seen just as many good birds from the members as I have bad. So a lot of them starting out really, really well. But now, a lot of them's invested a lot of money in these birds too.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah,
I think they're thinking I'm going to go in there and go, "Are you crazy? Those birds suck. You got to get rid of them, man. What do you think you're doing? Those are the worst birds I ever saw in my life. You got to start all over. Get rid of them. What else do you have?
No,
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
I want to be there one day when you do that, not on purpose, but as a joke. And video it. Video it. You go, nah, I'm just joking. You got great birds.
Do that to them. I know something like that could be carried way too far.
I put on a disguise and join under an alias and get a coaching call with Kenny and have a guinea and a turkey and say, what do you think?
That would be a great blooper.
That would be an awesome trip. I should have said that. Now I went on and set it up. That'd been a good one for it. I had Nancy video it.
Exactly.